Carlos Takam. I'm rocking with Lady Chann in the building.
In the building. Ra, 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 ra.
Ra, 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 ra.
Hey guys. So, Jared Anderson beats Charles Martin, the former IBF champion, heavyweight champion of the world. Got beat in the building. Let's talk about this fight. Jared Anderson beat Charles Martin. He dropped Charles Martin, I think, in about round 3. It was such a flash knockdown. Now, I could go in on this. I am going to talk about this more on the weekly wrap-up show tonight, 10:30 p.m. UK, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm trying to think where to start. So Jared Anderson, I want to give a round of applause to fucking Charles Martin, right? Charles Martin, people down on him and shit on him, but a lot of people expected him to be knocked out. I'm maybe because he was coming off a loss and it was a stoppage by Luis Ortiz. Well, listen, Jared Anderson doesn't seem to carry that amount of power. In the 3rd round, Jared Anderson, good boxing, and a flash knockdown occurred because, in my opinion, it was due to also the footwork of Charles Martin's not the greatest. His balance, he overcommits, he leans over his lead foot. He's a southpaw. And I think it was a right hook that got Martin, or it could have been a left. And it was so flush, he literally bounced down and came right back up and was like, we get into round 5 and Charles Martin is ready with this left hand. He's literally got it cocked. And he peppered fucking Jared Anderson with this left the whole fucking fight. Jared Anderson couldn't answer this question. It was like, ¿qué? ¿Cómo? ¿Dónde? ¿Cuándo? ¿Por qué? In the building. Don't get it twisted. Jared Anderson stood throughout the test of time. He very much won the fight. Charles Martin was roughing him up the whole fight. Charles Martin's chin is crazy. Now, guys, I want you to put this into perspective. Jared Anderson, 23 years old, came in at about 243 pounds versus Charles Martin, 250 pounds. Charles Martin, 6'5", Jared Anderson, 6'4". Charles Martin, 37 years old. Now, Anthony Joshua fought Charles Martin. That was the first belt that made him a champ. Back in 2016, on Joshua's 16th pro fight, he became the IBF champion. I always thought it was one round, but he knocked out Charles Martin in the 2nd round. Nothing long, no questions asked, starched. And it wasn't a flash knockdown. Charles Martin got knocked the fuck out and just got counted out. I actually remember it. Anthony Joshua, they caught him with a right and then came in with like a left. I don't know if it was a straight left or if it was a hook. And Martin was down. So, Jared, and that was in Martin's prime. Charles Martin was about 29 years old. No more than 30. Yeah, Joshua would have been about 25? Between 24 and 26. And Martin is 4 years older. So listen, when people are disrespecting 2-time unified champions of the world, they need to then absolutely go home and read their books, because Anthony Joshua beat a prime Charles Martin. Say whatever you want about him. Jared Anderson couldn't get a 37-year-old out of his prime. He couldn't get him out of the booty. No, it's not for him. Okay? Yeah, it's not for him. Yeah. So that lets you know Anthony Joshua's power is nothing to be sniffed at. So what I do with stats, facts and data, and we can see it. So I don't want to hear anybody talking down on Charles Martin or Anthony Joshua, because we could see people that can't even get him out in his prime. Quite worrying that Jared Anderson couldn't knock this guy out, because that was a late replacement, and 11 days. Imagine him on a full camp for real. and you couldn't get him out. This was a real test for Jared. I think it happened for a reason. You know, the Most High don't get things wrong. And this tested him and let him know where he is. The top 10 division it's not para él. It's not for him, okay? Yeah, it's not for him. Yeah. At the end of the 10th round, Jared Anderson, if there was another 10 seconds left in that last round, he would have been down. There was numerous times where Jared Anderson was in trouble in that fight, and it always seemed to come. He was lucky. He was saved by the bell. I mean, Martin hit him with a great overhand. I want to say, because he's southpaw, it could have been the overhand left. And Jared said in round 5, when Jared was in serious trouble, he came back in round 6 and he had no legs. If you watched the first half of that round, he didn't have legs. His legs recovered later in round 6. And for him to say at the end of the fight he was never in trouble, he wasn't hurt, he wasn't stunned, he wasn't buzzed, that's not what your body said. We could see the legs weren't in. Do you know where I give Jared ultimate props? I didn't realise he was a switch hitter. So he fights orthodox, but his power hand is the left hand. And that was what was confusing Martin, because where Martin was having success when Jared was southpaw, it was like circle to the left. When he was orthodox, my bad. So circling to the left was the better way, so he could be out of the way of Jared's lead hand, which would have been, backhand, which would have then been the right hand. But then he kind of got confused. Sometimes he got a little bit tired and started circling to the right, and that was where Jared did have success with the switch hitting. Became confused. It was southpaw to orthodox, and it was just switching, which I found that was impressive to me for Jared Anderson. So yeah, and he gained some success beating on Charles Martin in sheer confusion at times. Charles Martin didn't know where he was supposed to be circling to avoid which lead hand, which backhand. Yeah, the confusion was in the building. It was a dizzy building. It's really funny that we're talking about maybe a fighter that didn't perform well, even though he knocked his opponent down. But everything is contextual, because even though he knocked the opponent down, it literally didn't matter, because he was at home. This class of going back home and performing, it don't work. I don't know if it's the pressure at performing at home. I'm not sure. I mean, I've performed in London. It's wherever. Like, you perform. It shouldn't be that pressure. But obviously, you know, some people can't take it. Shouts out to them. But it's just funny that we're talking about a guy that won, but I think what we're trying to do is state that he said that he's ready for anyone in the top 10. Dillian White beats him, Anthony Joshua beats him, Alexander Usyk beats him, Tyson Fury beats him, Andy Ruiz beats him, Jalalov beats him, Filip Ergovic probably beats him. He'll have to start looking at like maybe the bottom end, like 20 and 30. I'll tell you who he does beat. Michael Hunter would be a good fight, because what he's going to face is one of the top 10 that these boys hit. These are big lads. Jared Anderson looked tiny in comparison to fucking Martin. And if you don't have the power, obviously Charles Martin stopped his knockout spree. So this tells you, I always say power is subjective to the opponent that you're fighting. And now that you're fighting a big boy, a true heavyweight, that knows, that's very experienced and has got a chin, Jared Anderson's power did nothing. It didn't work. So I would like to see Jared Anderson against Carlos Takam. Carlos Takam stopped Makhmudov's knockout spree, by the way, and he only lost by a split decision. Yeah, he did get dropped in the fight, but he stopped Makhmudov's fucking whole thing, shut shit down. So I think my guy Takam is a really good gatekeeper, and I think Jared Anderson should absolutely, his next fight should be somewhere in the realms of like a Carlos Takam, because Takam doesn't come to play. Takam gives everyone trouble, hard fucking work. So let's see, and hits hard. So let's see if that can be put into fruition. Yeah, so, but I don't think Jared Anderson is a hype job. I don't think people, I am absolutely rooting for the young bro, but I'm worried because he cried after the fight and to his mum, and he was crying before to Roy Jones Jr. If you're not emotionally or mentally in check for this, healthy for this sport, I would urge any boxer not to partake, because him breaking down quite frequently, it's worrying. So maybe this isn't for the lad, but the lad's definitely a star. He reminds me of Anthony Joshua. He could be on the front of magazines. He's a very handsome lad. He's very well spoken. He's a nice guy. He's handsome. People need to leave him alone. Let him, not everybody advances at the same speed. Let's just see where he goes in the next. We'll see if he's a belonga or not. Let's see the next fight and let's see. And if he's a hype job, we'll call him an hype job. That's what, we don't, there's no hold bars there. I'm just wanting to see if he is a hype job or not. I think he's very talented. I think he's a talented boxer, and I think he can be quite multifaceted within the entertainment industry. So if he doesn't want to box after 27, that's his prerogative. Hopefully he makes a lot of money between now and 27. That's only 4 years, so we'll see. Anyway, I'm gone. Hey girl, it's LadyChann, rep nonetheless. Come box with CHANN. CHANN. Jared Anderson beats Charles Martin in a unanimous decision. CHANN.